All right, welcome to the inaugural AI snack time. So with this new segment, our plan is to kind of centralize all of the AI, ChatGPT, machine learning, whatever all that terminology is for it, into one segment, because we feel like we've been kind of
bits and pieces
here and there scattered throughout everything. So we're kind of centralize this into a single segment so we can kind of cover what's new each month in this area of very popular
It's a huge topic now,
topic these days of what's new, what's going on, what are people doing with it, how is this going to impact my life, right? And if you thought that we're just calling it AI snack time, like as a virtual snack of AI news, yes. But we literally are also enjoying a snack right now. So today we have some Dots pretzels.
The best pretzels you can get.
I assume everyone now knows what Dots pretzels are.
I don't know.
But
if it wasn't for
with our
Jim
worldwide audience, maybe Dots pretzels aren't distributed worldwide.
Yeah, they're out of North Dakota.
What do you call these? Like kind of like if you've ever seen like a small like a pretzel stick, like a butter braid.
Yeah, it's like a rope.
A butter braid pretzel stick, but with crazy good seasonings on it.
The flavoring is amazing.
Yeah.
Right? If it wasn't for Jim Gio a couple years ago to introduce me to these, I never would have heard of them. I never even tried them.
Yeah.
And when he brought it up, I was like, it's a pretzel. Like, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
And then you try it, and you're like, wow.
Yeah. So if you haven't had a Dots pretzel before, go out and get a bag. They're not super cheap, but I think they're worth it.
Yeah, it's the craft beer pretzels.
There you go. Yeah. So so AI. So being at the conference, right, at the partner conference, there was a huge. This was a big part of it, right? And Microsoft has made a huge investment in a company called OpenAI, $1 billion plus, probably multiple billions of dollars. And I don't know if I fully understand the relationship there between ChatGPT is a product created by OpenAI that Microsoft has the exclusive use and rights to.
Yep.
This is going to be a big topic of discussion, and Microsoft's going to be incorporating this AI into all of their products, really, right?
And why not, in my opinion? But I think some could argue they need to slow it down. They need to know what some of the repercussions could be. AI, good or bad, who knows, right? But so they've come out with something called Copilot, if you will, right,
yep.
Which is their version of
it's their
AI.
branding for the AI that they're going to be incorporating into their different products.
Yeah, and I like the name Copilot. Like, it's there to help you, right? It's not running you. It's a tool that you can use to do things.
Right.
And I think Copilot, it falls under the Dynamics 365 family, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, though. I think it's Dynamics 365 Copilot.
There are, but I think there's Copilot products for other things too. Like there's
for everything.
GitHub Copilot for developer tools. So there's Copilot's kind of their AI brand for their business products.
Yeah.
And it's different. So they went out of their way to make sure that people understand, I think, that there's ChatGPT, but then there's what they call Azure OpenAI. And so Copilot is it's not the same ChatGPT that you go into and say, write me a poem written by Coolio about
Coolio.
about
weeds growing in the grass or something. Yeah.
Basketball player.
Yeah. Coolio.
So this
has boundaries.
Right. It's a more controlled environment. It's got
so it's only pulling data from the data sources that Microsoft specifies. Basically.
Correct. It's
not taking it from
kind of like a targeted chatbot at one particular area. And they also made a big deal about the privacy of the data, right? Because there's this concern. Okay, I'm running Business Central, and you're going to be incorporating AI into Business Central. Well, is that data therefore being shared with the universe?
What is AI pulling from Business Central? Yeah.
Right, and there's this global, chatbot that's learning everything about my business, and that's going to be available for other businesses. And they made it very clear that a company's data is going to remain within their environment. It's not shared. It doesn't become part of some global database of information.
Until AI decides that
it wants to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
But a whole other discussion.
Yep. So and like you said, that the idea is it's a co-pilot for the users. It's to help the users be more efficient and more effective. Yeah. Right? Like if you think about it, like a true auto co-pilot, right? Like if on an airplane, right? Yeah. You have pilots sitting in the cockpit. They're capable of flying the planes, but they can also set it on autopilot. Mm-hmm. And that will use data to make sure the plane stays flying on course.
I mean, even if they have an actual co-pilot flying with them, the main pilot is saying, all right, check this, do that. The main pilot is still in control, right? The co-pilot is just kind of assisting him do his or her, whatever it is they have to do. So I'll tell you what, though, I was shocked. So Microsoft they introduced Copilot. And in my opinion, I know there's a race right now for AI, and everybody's got to get all their AI stuff out there to be the best. I was shocked as to how little Copilot actually did within Business Central right now.
Right.
You understand what it's basically limited to creating descriptions on items and I don't know, maybe something else. I can't even remember off the top of my head. But it's very limited in Business Central. And I think they just put it out there to say, we're the first, we got it out there, and I expect it over time to evolve heavily to do a lot more. So it'll be interesting, but I think they might have rushed it a little bit.
Yeah, basically the only incorporation of Copilot into Business Central is, you can auto-generate a long description of your item using fields and attributes associated with the item record.
Right. And then if you change them up, it'll recreate your description or whatnot.
And the first thing is that I would tell you that the vast majority of Business Central user organizations don't extensively use attributes. Gotcha. I mean, they're used out there. I mean, but it's not you don't see every priority. Customer setting up tons of attributes, color, size, dimensions, specifications, all that type of stuff.
Well, I think they did that, and they chose to do it in this because, right, the ability to create less errors is pretty low in this, right? It's something that they can't really mess up AI creating a description. Yes, it could say something wrong about your product when it analyzes the picture and the attributes, but it's not really messing anything up yet. So it kind of tells me that in the background, they're still working heavily on AI. They're still working on the integration to make it as good as they can get it, but in time, we'll see. I mean,
but I think, but I would note though that even though specifically within Business Central, Copilot doesn't have much right now, right?
Right.
They said it will be a significant feature going forward, and also if you're running Business Central online, you may also be running Office 365.
Yeah.
And if you look at the new Copilot features that are in Office 365. To me, those are more compelling.
Right now, yeah.
Some of those things that they've added in there. And again, I think it's just like you said. It's let's get something in there to say that we have something in there. And it's just a start.
Yeah. It's like the space race of the 60s and whatnot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wasn't around in the 60s like you.
Yeah. Luckily, hair is only gray now. All right, so let me ask you a question. Do you envision a time where you could say to Business Central and Copilot, hey, perform year-end closing tasks for me? You think it'll ever get to that point?
Possibly.
Yeah. I asked Ken because Ken's obviously very skilled with financials.
Although you might have to use the right terms, and it would kind of maybe help. Like, I view it like in terms of like you said, a co-pilot. Like, maybe instead of me having to click here, click there,
You
open
can
this
say.
page, I like you said, say that, and it just launches a page. So, but I'm still kind of have like, okay, I can review this and then click OK.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, something like that, especially, and I think that's a great example of where I think it can be useful. The reason I say that is because it's a once a year process.
So
no one remembers how to do it.
It's okay.
No. No, I mean, no one remembers how to do it because you only do it once a year, right? The things like repetition, obviously, there's use for it there, but also in those things that you don't do very often. That like I don't remember what was the steps. Which boxes do I check here?
Yeah.
I think there's who knows? I mean, what you could do with it. I think we're at this precipice, right, of a crevasse.
Crevasse.
Where we need to tread carefully, or else you might fall in. I don't know.
Yeah, according to Elon Musk, right? Pull the brakes now.
All right.
And some other pretty prominent figures in the world, they signed that petition saying we need to hold off on AI. Which is interesting because if I'm not mistaken, I think Elon Musk was one of the first investors in the OpenAI.
He was. I know that he helped create it.
Right. So if
and
he's
it was a nonprofit organization,
mm-hmm.
which was created to ensure that there was kind of a group of people who could collaborate and work together on this and make sure that it was being done in the right way.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what happened. I have no idea, but I do know that today OpenAI is a for-profit company.
Yeah.
So that's really weird, right? Like how can you start something as a non-for-profit, generate all this traction and energy, and then go, okay, changed our mind. This is really valuable. We're now a for-profit company.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're sitting there and you're going to say, well, our market cap, or whatever, we might be one of these $1 trillion companies. Yeah, this non-for-profit thing's not going to be for us anymore.
Yeah, but that's not right.
But it's interesting. And then you had the CEO of Google who said, with concerning that, he said this, and I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said that this is going to be bigger, or it's as big as like man creating fire or something like that, which is pretty big. When you come to think about it,
it's pretty significant. I watched on about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, on 60 Minutes on CBS. I don't know if this is available on streaming or whatever these days.
Everything probably is.
You probably can find it, but 60 Minutes did a long form interview with the CEO of Google, and they showed some other Google robotics and stuff that they're working on. But I would say if this is interesting to you, watch that interview, and I kind of picked up a couple things on some answers where the interview was asking him some pretty direct yes/no questions, and he seemed to be evading the answer to the questions, which leads me to believe and he said, yeah, we don't know what's going to happen. And the interviewer said, wait, what? You don't know what could happen? Like, it's almost unbelievable, isn't it? Right? Like,
he knows what'll happen if he says the wrong thing.
And he didn't directly address that question.
Yeah.
So
here's actually the quote from the Google CEO. I don't know how to say his name. Is it Pichai? I don't know. He says, AI is one of the most important things humanity is working on. It is more profound than, I don't know, electricity or fire. That's big time. I mean, electricity, fire. I mean, that's. But we'll see. I personally think, and I know Ken disagrees, but I think it's going to be involved in every aspect of our life, every industry. I think it's going to be huge.
Yeah, no, there definitely could be major implications.
Oh, absolutely.
When Elon Musk says it could lead to the destruction of civilization, it kind of doesn't give you the warm fuzzies. What was the last invention? Well, I think you probably...
TikTok?
that when it came out, you said this is going to lead to the destruction of civilization.
Yeah, it's not
Right?
too
I mean,
much.
maybe
Nuclear
the
warheads.
atomic bomb.
Yeah.
Right? I guess that.
Yeah.
And then this. I mean, jokingly, TikTok. Yeah, that's a slow. That's a slow burn. But yeah, no. I mean, I my point is that I think in most cases when new technology arises, right?
People are always weary though.
It's well, and I guess you could say the internet, right? There's the vast majority. I mean, the internet has definitely overall positively impacted people's lives.
Yeah.
But
Unless
there
it's
are
TikTok.
negatives with the internet, right?
Well,
I mean, there's a downside. There's
There's
a
way to
dark
influence
dark
people's stuff,
side,
for sure.
right, of the internet.
Yeah.
And, and what's scary though is that like I think I've seen a couple people who are saying, some people are saying we'll slow down on it. Well, other people aren't going to slow down on it. I mean, you could slow down
Too much money.
on your AI research and development, but other people aren't going to. And also, some people aren't going to accept any controls
Right.
on what they do with it, right?
Not when it's profitable.
Right. Or
Money's the driver.
yeah. So I think there's I don't know, like you said, the cat's out of the bag. You
Yeah.
said?
Yeah. But to spin it in a positive way, I know that you came across some things that Copilot, Microsoft's AI, can do with GitHub, with code and whatnot, and this is using AI as a tool, which would make life a little bit easier for developers because.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we saw some demos. Microsoft's within Visual Studio Code. So Business Central, right? If you're building an extension, you're working in Visual Studio Code. And usually the developer goes in there and they start writing their code. And what we saw was a demo of the GitHub Copilot, where as the developer's typing in code, after they type in a little bit, all of a sudden the code just fills in below where they're typing.
Amazing.
In kind of like a lighter colored font to show that this is all kind of suggested code. It's Copilot analyzing what the developer is inputting and attempting to complete the rest of the code.
It's kind of like a Google search or something, right? Where you're searching and it pops up the rest.
Correct. Right.
Nice.
It kind of takes a guess at what you're searching for. This is taking a guess at what you're trying to accomplish in your code. And Microsoft studies have showed that it can make about 50% write the 50% of the code and make a developer 50% more effective. So
it's huge right now.
They're not at 100. It's not 100%. Yeah. You still need a developer.
Right.
But right,
it was just introduced.
If you can do everything 50% more efficiently,
yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Right? I mean, again,
it's a whole other language.
People want to do, today less and less extensions, less and less customization. I want to use it out of the box, right? I don't want to run anything that's proprietary and specific to us. We want to be just running the general system. So, but if you do have to do custom code, and it can be done in maybe half the time,
it's great.
Or even better, using best practices, right? Using good syntax and code, right? Instead of each developer writing their code how they do it, it can be done in a more standardized way.
Yeah.
That also has benefits on it.
So. I think it's going to be huge for developers. I mean, just to cut down on some of the time, some of the mistakes. But I think it goes back to working how you kind of said, right? The better that you outline and give Copilot directions and commands or whatnot, the better it'll be for you.
Right.
But I think, when you put something in and you get an error, maybe even for troubleshooting, I don't know, maybe I haven't seen how it works, but maybe you can input a certain code into GitHub and say, what's wrong with this? Can you troubleshoot this? I'm getting this error message. I don't know how it works, but that might be beneficial in the future. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're at the very beginning. Like I said, we're at the very start of this, and we'll have to see where it goes. I think that there's going to be a ton of opportunities out there, a ton of new apps that come out, and things that people can use. But I think those people that are going to be developing a lot of that stuff are going to be charging for it.
Yeah.
And the question is going to be, do people feel the need to pay extra or pay that amount for that? Is it, are they going to get the value? Now, if you said, hey, it's Microsoft, they're just building this in and they're going to include these features and this functionality with Business Central, so you're getting more and more value every month out of your user subscription, that's one thing, right? But if you're saying, well, hey, I built this whole AI tool over here, this is really cool, and I'm going to charge you X dollars per month to use this, what's my price point? Is that going to have a return on investment for you?
Got to go back to the old micro and macroeconomics, right? What's the cost benefit analysis, right? Do the chart, and then go from there. I think right now, right? Is it going to be worth it? A lot of these apps can be worth it for you. Most likely not, right? But once the costs are coming down and things like that, people are going to adopt it. Like I said earlier when we were talking, as soon as somebody can show I saved 5% doing this or whatever, then other people jump on the bandwagon and then it takes off.
Yeah. Well, I think we've had a nice little discussion here.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you one thing. Two things. I can guarantee you two things. One, we're going to have more AI news next month. Some new stuff is going to happen. And two, we're going to be having a new snack.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully nothing that has fish in it. Sardines. All right, next up, we're going to be doing a feature segment on Data Administration Guide. So it's a newer feature in Business Central, and Ken's already an expert on it.
Let's go.